Hello, horror fan, best friends, and ghoulish knights, and welcome to the 27th episode of Murders with Mertens. I am your host, Joe, and this is a podcast about horror, super meta slashers, dark comedies, body horror, the horror adjacent, thrillers, the psychologically terrifying, scary films in general. Each episode, I sit down with a guest and discuss one of their favorite scary films so we can gush about everything that makes it just so damned cool. Viewers, thank you for the support. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you are so inclined. It all helps to get the word out and bring some much needed love to this little podcast. Audio listeners, the show is also available on podcast services around the world like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so don't forget to leave a rating when you stop by, like Greg, who wants to listen to the podcast, but doesn't listen to the podcast.
We're going to get him.
We'll get you, Greg. Yeah. But enough of all that housekeeping. We need to continue on with this series themed around Scream. And to that end, I have the privilege of welcoming for his first Murders with Mertens appearance, Mr. Nerdaday podcast himself, Mr. Carlos Rodriguez. Carlos, how the hell are you?
I'm good, Joe. How are you? I'm so glad to
do
be
great. I know
we've got.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I want to say we signed up for another one later down the line, but I couldn't miss this opportunity when you put the call out. You were like, I'm doing Scream. I need people. I was like, I want to do Scream 4. Like, please. I love Scream 4 so much. So I'm glad to be doing this right now.
Dude, thank you. Yeah, I put that word out there and I got responses immediately and I had to turn a couple of people down. So that was sad, but also made me very, very happy. So yeah.
You know, you're on the right track.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yes, tonight's topic. 2011 Scream 4, directed by Wes Craven, and once again written by Kevin Williamson, with uncredited touch-ups by Aaron Kruger from Scream 3. This was Craven's final film before he succumbed to brain cancer in 2015. Carlos, what's your history with Scream 4?
So I think like many of us, right? I am a child of the 90s. You know, I was born in 87. So I grew up in the just peak of the 90s, right? Like my whole consciousness is in the 90s. Having Scream in my life, it's like always been there. Like I remember seeing Scream 1 to like Showtime, like late night, whatever, Scream 3. You know, I like it more the second viewing or third viewing now than I did the first one. But 4, I was uber hyped for. I don't know why. I was just really excited to see Wes Craven come back. I was excited to see Kevin Williams come back to write. And I didn't see this in theaters, but I saw it as soon as it came out as a DVD. And I know we talked pre-show, like you weren't the biggest fan of it when it initially released. I was all in. I mean, from the opening meta like joke like to the end, I was hyped throughout the whole thing. Like the cast is great. The young stars that we get, especially Kirby, which I'll gush about more as we progress. But
best girl,
Kirby's
best girl.
Oh my God, she's the best. She's absolutely the best.
Yeah, future spoilers. Can't wait to see her back in Scream 6. Yeah,
I jumped so bad. Like it wasn't even the dead meat like cameo that I jumped about. I jumped because off the side you just see that she's alive. I was like, finally, justice for Kirby.
Vindication.
Yeah, man, I was so excited for it. But I've always been a fan of this movie, man. I've always been a fan. The only thing it's so funny, I never put like 2 and 2 together. I was like, man, this is kind of like an ugly looking movie. And I was watching the Dead Meat kill count, the recount for it. And he was like, man, who put Vaseline on the camera? I was like, damn, that's a good point. That's a really good point, man. The shit's ugly. It's surprisingly ugly.
Yeah. It's something that I've always noticed. It's a really dark, kind of blurry movie.
It's weird.
It's so strange. Yes. You know, when you consider how well shot the rest of the films are, it's very weird.
And even other like Wes Craven movies, like when you see the other ones, like nothing looks quite like this. And I feel like there's a couple movies around this time that kind of look similar.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe there's like a remake, like Hills Have Eyes. I feel like it's kind of like saturated in a weird way, right? Like they try to like, hey, look, you're really in the desert. Like it's a movie. You don't have to do that.
Yeah. There's very specific scenes where it's like, I can't tell what's happening until somebody actually steps into a little bit of light. And it's just so freaking dark. But yeah, maybe that had something to do with the reason that I didn't care for it in my first viewing. I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't in the right place when I was watching it. that probably would have been like late 2011, maybe 2012.
Yeah, that's probably when I saw it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Hard to say. I should ask my ex about this because I don't remember what her opinion was of it at the time either, but I just didn't like it. And then I came back to it. I don't know when exactly. Yeah, maybe within the past, 5, 6 years, something like that.
Mm.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh no, this clicks. This is everything. It just like you said, the layer after layer of meta in the beginning, and just the younger cast working so well with the old cast. Um, yeah, yeah. This movie fucks.
Yeah,
Um,
it really does. It's surprising. Like it's surprising how good it is and how it stays with that meta commentary for movies at the time. Like especially now seeing like Scream 5 and what they did, like what Radio Silence did with that. Like seeing the commentary that they had with requels, like, oh no, it still touches upon the original, but it is a sequel and there's a new cast. Like it's so smartly written, and I think Radio Silence was a good team to continue Wes's ideas and Kevin's ideas. Like
oh
they're
hell yeah.
they're the best team to continue that legacy and to move on. Like I wasn't worried. I mean, I always loved their stuff since like VHS one, where they had the 103198 section. Like I loved that section of that movie so much. From then on, I've been fans. So like they can do no wrong in my point of view. And when they picked this up, I remember telling other people like, well, Wes Craven's not doing. Like, listen, they're gonna kill it. Don't worry about it. And like they did a good job of honing in on the commentary, which is like I think as a horror fan, the most important thing to do with Scream specifically is the commentary around it. Like, yeah, listen, the kills are fun, but there's some really good ones at 4. Anthony Anderson is one of my favorites, and we'll talk about it at the time. I love that one so much. But there's a
Yes.
lot of good ones here, and they do the commentary of like gore and things like that. And 5 does that similar as well.
Hmm. Yeah, there's something that, I've brought up on all of these Scream episodes so far. These films, all of them, are such, they're so good at zeroing in on, social commentary and technology in the time period that the film takes
Mhm.
place. From just cell phone culture, going from the sort of mid 90s through 2000, into just YouTube and vloggers and stuff at the time period that this film takes place in. And, Scream 5 goes on to do some of that kind of stuff as well. It's, God, and yeah, I couldn't agree more. Radio Silence. I mean, how can you not love Ready or
Yeah,
Not?
so good.
And yeah, and just everything that this new one in a couple of weeks, just how brutal it looks in comparison, but with still that same
Mhm.
kind of sense of humor that they tend to have.
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm down. Um, yeah, I think we need to jump into this.
Hell yeah.
We begin with the Dimension Films logo and wireless landline ringing. Yeah, those are disappearing, aren't they?
Yeah, I got like
Lucy.
gray hairs when I was listening to it. I was like, "Oh god."
Yeah, yeah. Oh no. Um, uh, yes, Lucy Hale. She answers a call from Ghostface and assumes wrong number and just immediately hangs up. Okay. And then
Smart.
she and her friend slash sister. I really can't tell, and I don't think
I
it
can't
really
either. Yeah.
matters. Don't know that it matters, but they plan to watch a movie. And when Lucy suggests Saw 4, they get into a discussion about the torture porn subgenre and, its pluses and minuses there. Um, then it's revealed that Sister Friend has a Facebook stalker who's using photos of Channing Tatum. So she's not super bright, I guess. Uh, this is where the phone rings again. This time Ghostface is a little bit more aggressive with the girls. I love that moment about hang up again on me. I'll, cut through your neck until I feel bone or whatever. And she's just like, phone's for you, lady.
Yep, not mine. Nope, not for me.
Yup. And eventually they hang up on him, and then he starts texting sister friend. So it turns out her Facebook stalker has been Ghostface all along. Um, yeah, they go to check the front door, check if it's locked, and they're spooked by the doorbell. And then they get a text message daring them to open the door. I love this. I love how the text messages just come through on vibrate, where,
Yep.
the cell phones in the first few movies, there was always the ringer going off. There's that great moment in Scream 3 where the ringer goes off and everybody checks their phone because
Yep.
they all think it's them. Which is such a great commentary on people, right around 2000, everybody was just starting to have, it was weird that you didn't have your own cell phone at that time.
So of course, yeah, they're gonna have, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, I want to hear what if I'm getting a phone call. It's important." What a
And
time to be
then,
alive.
yeah, about, 10 years later, we were at the point where it's like, yeah, I'm just mostly going to keep my
Done.
phone on silent.
Yeah.
I just don't care. So yeah, again, great commentary. Love it. And then, Luce, she doesn't find anybody on the porch. She's like, there's nobody out here. And that's when the vibration of another text spooks sister friend. I love how much she jumps.
Yeah,
Um,
she's just like up in the
uh-huh.
air.
And the vibration is so loud. That's why I get pissed when people just put their phones on vibrate at the movies, because I could still hear it. But yeah. Uh this is where she reads the text and it says, I'm not outside. I'm right beside you. And Ghostface just lunges in and kind of stabs her in the side of the neck there, or in the shoulder. And yeah. Then another Ghostface pops up behind Lucy Hale on the porch and slashes her throat. And she goes down. And there's blood everywhere. And we get the title card of Stab 6 and two people watching it and somebody turning it off because they're just done with this shit.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
my favorite cameos too.
yes, it's Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell, and they're on the couch watching the film. Anna, she's the one who's not amused. The line about a bunch of articulate teens sit around and deconstruct horror until Ghostface picks them off one by one. It's been done to death. So they just kind of go back and forth on this a little bit. Anna just not digging the genre any longer. Well, unfortunately, Christian just stabs her in the gut, telling her to shut the fuck up and watch the movie.
I jumped out of my seat like when I first, because that's so unlike Kristen Bell.
Yeah,
So like it was
yeah.
so fun to watch that, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, and immediately I was like, "Wait, are we in a movie? In a movie? Because they're not going to show you the killer right off the bat." And I was like, and then the
You
stab stuff,
know
and
it.
I was like,
Yep.
"Holy shit, this
Title
is great!"
card, Stab 7. Yes, I love the trope of a movie within a movie within a movie, almost as much as I love the trope of a dream within a dream within a dream.
Mm-hmm.
It is a ton of fun. And we finally get two new girls um, who stopped Stab 7 because one of them just can't be bothered with this bullshit. And they bring up how there was a Stab movie with time travel in it.
Stab 5, yeah,
Yeah,
Stab
because
5 dealt with time travels.
because apparently that was an abandoned plot point for Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors. The
That's
studio
right.
did not want Wes Craven to do that, so he's like, you know what? We're at least going to talk about it.
I'm gonna
Uh,
talk about it. You're not gonna let me do it. I'm gonna get it in one way, shape,
yeah,
or another.
yeah. Oh, it's so good. But I just love how dopey the Stab movies eventually become. Future spoilers, we get video clips of Ghostface with the flamethrower.
That's
But
Stab 8, right? By that
yeah,
time.
something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, the girls discuss their town's history with the films until Jenny hears a noise upstairs and goes to check it out. So she gets upstairs and she thinks she left a window open in her bedroom. Carlos, let me ask you, if
Mhm.
you found your bedroom window open at night, would you just think you're enough of a ditz that you left it open? Or would you be a
No, I'm
little
Puerto
bit more
Rican, man. I'm
concerned?
out. Doesn't matter what area of the world I am. That blood clicks in and I'm out. I'm calling the
Mm,
cops.
you are a
I'm hoping
smart,
I don't
smart
get
man.
like.
But
I
you know
hope I
what?
get Hicks or Dewey.
If people were smart in horror movies, we wouldn't get plot. So there
That's
you
true.
go. Yeah. She thinks she just left the window open. And the phone rings and Marnie goes to answer and Ghostface gets right to it this time. This is the last face you're ever going to see alive. But it turns out it's just Jenny fucking with her from upstairs until Marnie gets fucked with downstairs. Now, I love how the line that Ghostface uses on this call is the line from the Stab 6 intro that they were
That's
just
right. Yeah.
watching. Works.
Just
It
to like
works.
click in more, like
Mhm. Yep. So yes, seems the Ghostface is on the prowl after all, and eventually he throws Marnie's body through a French door at Jenny after fucking with her on the phone. Uh, she runs upstairs screaming. He's in pursuit. She kind of dips into the shadows and for some reason goes through a door into an unfinished part of this home. I
yeah.
It's
It's so
weird, right?
random.
It's
Yeah.
weird. And it's like I get it. This may be a fairly new build and there's some stuff that's just not done. Doesn't look like that new of a build. Come on.
No, I
Um
know it would. I was dying. I was like, what the fuck?
yeah, it's a little weird. But she kind of leans up to the door and that's where Ghostface just sort of pops in, stabs her in the back. She's crawling down these stairs that happen to just lead to the garage.
Of
Also
course.
kind of weird. um in fact, there's no door on it too, and I know it's California, so I guess that makes a little bit more sense as far as climate control is concerned if it's Northern California.
Fair.
um, yeah, but it still seems like even for fire code, you would need a door at the bottom of those stairs leading into the garage. But hey, what do I know? Um,
I haven't built it yet. That's the thing. Yeah.
yeah, they're not quite done.
Yeah.
She hits the garage door button. It starts rolling up, and she's crawling for it. She's just about there when Ghostface taps the button, stopping it. She crawls some more, trying to get out. He sends the door down into her back. Now, I know they had those sensors since 1993 that would have stopped this from
Mhm.
happening, but we're just going to need to suspend that disbelief right here.
Not in this universe. Yeah.
Not in
They
this
work for
universe.
Tatum. It's not going to work for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, yeah, crunches her back, and then he runs the door back up, flips her over, and stabs her, finishing her off. And we finally get the real title card of Scream 4, stylized with the 4 as the A. It's great. It's great, and it's kind of
It's
3D,
so
and
good.
it's just the evolution of the title cards through this series is interesting. They
Mhm.
all very much feel like they are like just this is this time period.
Yeah.
Um,
They definitely reflect like the period that they're in.
oh yeah. And we're introduced to Sid and her publicist are arriving in Woodsboro, aka Northville, Michigan, and they find Ghostface costumes hung up on all the streetlights of the downtown. Yeah, this was part of that sort of late aughts, early 2010s film boom in Southeast Michigan. There were tons of film credits. They shot that Red Dawn remake here. But yeah, Scream 4. Uh, Check out all the news media that's in this thing. They are all from the Detroit market.
That was like legit at the same around the same time Philly, where I'm from, they had something similar. So we had like Transformers 2 and
Mhm.
a bunch of other, if it's not Shyamalan, it was like there was a bunch of different big like productions in Philly. And then I think the same thing that happened in Michigan happened, same thing in Pennsylvania. Like both our governors was like, nah, fuck it. We're
Yep,
not gonna give a tax break. I'm
and
like, but there's money and we could get movies and like, no, fuck me then. All right, cool.
yeah, that plug got pulled pretty fast. Yes, it
Yeah.
did. Um, So yeah, they're there for Sid's last stop on her book tour. Allison Bree's fucking vicious.
God, she's
Um,
vicious.
yep. I
She's
love
like
how
Gale
she's
2.0.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And maybe that's how Sid found her. I don't know. But
right.
yeah, she's a vicious little thing, but she's also not enough of a character for you to really remember her name. I think it's Rebecca, but does it matter? I don't know.
No.
But yeah, she mentions how she threatened to kill the bookstore owner's cat if he didn't get the display right or something like that.
One of the many like, hey, this could be a suspect.
Yep. Yep. Oh yeah, these films are great at that too.
Hmm.
All the little red herrings and yeah, amazing job in these films. Um, so they cut to Sheriff Riley being woken up by Axel F on his cell phone. Uh, because
That's so great.
of course.
Yeah,
And he gets up out of bed, and Gail just kind of sleepily turns over. So they're still together after all this time.
I love
Uh,
that. I
yeah.
actually did. Yeah, I love the sense of like they actually worked it out. For that time period, like in those 11 years since Scream 3, since
Yep.
he proposed, like they actually been together this whole time, and I love that. I didn't notice it until this viewing. Actually, he has Sid's book
Mm-hmm.
on his nightstand.
Yep. Yep.
He
We
quotes
we
it
can
later. He quotes it very soon, but like it's
right,
really
right.
nice.
Yeah, we can
Like he's
actually
a good friend.
see that part of the movie.
Mhm.
There's plenty of other stuff that's a little difficult to see, but
No
yeah,
Vaseline. Yeah.
yeah, little bit, little bit. Um, so yeah, they're still together, and he steps outside. We see very clearly, yes, he is the sheriff of this town now, and he seems to have worked out his limp. So hey, good for him.
Yeah.
Um, there's supposed to be some kind of blurb somewhere. I don't know if it's in the film or in the promotional material or what about, just years of physical therapy finally getting him right.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of stuff got cut in this movie. Like a lot of
Yeah.
random,
Oh, yeah.
important stuff got cut.
Yeah. We hear some approaching music, and yes, we are introduced to Kirby Reed blasting by him. He's yelling at her to
That's true.
slow down and shit. Yes, she is the best. She looks like a 40-something divorcee, but that's how she's styled in this film.
Hell
Don't
yeah.
know why. Don't know why. She looks like she's dressed for a showing of new property, and she's
Mhm.
looking to get
She's
that
got the
new
Captain
commission.
Marvel cut, like from the
Yep.
comics. She's got the leather jacket.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's something.
She just found
Uh,
her new life. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
um let's see here. Yeah, she kind of mumbles some kind of apology as she drives by, and yeah, she stops to pick up her friends, Jill and Olivia, and it's revealed that Jill has drama with her boyfriend Trevor, and that she's also Sydney's cousin. Um Jill gets a call from Ghostface using Jenny's phone, and when they hang up, Olivia admits that she got a similar call from Marnie that morning. And then Kirby nearly kills them all because she almost runs a stop sign and gets plowed into by a pickup. They're all a little on edge. Let's
Mhm.
just say that much.
I mean, they live in Woodsboro. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
that's
care how
that's
long a
fair.
time period it's been since what it says 16 years since the first experience of like
Hmm.
Bill and Stu, like a Billy and Stu, like
Yeah,
that's still weird, man. Like, even if you grow up after.
yeah, and yeah, to be fair, the killings of the other two films didn't take place in Woodsboro, but still,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I'd be a little concerned. But I think they make it's either here or just a little bit later on. They make commentary about how this time of year at the anniversary, around the time of Stabathon, people do prank calls like this all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. But yes, Kirby nearly kills them, yet they survive, or else we wouldn't have a film. And we cut to Deputy Hicks supervising a crew taking down the ghost face decorations from the streetlights. And she's a little sweet on Dewey, like a little over the top, a little bit.
A little too much, yeah.
Yeah, tone it
Makes
down,
you wonder
Deputy
if she
Hicks.
had this crush this whole time because
Well, I
she
mean,
probably knew Tatum, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, she, said she knew Sydney. We'll get into
yeah.
that later, but yeah, she probably did have a little bit of a crush all these years. Um, yep, they're pulling things down. Well, she asks about, Gail and everything. Dewey reveals to her that, she's writing fiction now. And, well, she offers him a lemon square, which he turns down. And then they get a call to get over to the Randall house right away. It's a real shame that we didn't get to see the carnage of them arriving over there. I think there might be a deleted scene or something. I feel like I've
Yeah,
seen
I put
photos.
like Wes Craven's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's supposed to play the coroner or something. Um, but
Well, here's a weird future spoiler thing I'm thinking
mm,
about just now, right? Because I was thinking about time frame, right? So it's what 12 years later for Scream 5,
yeah, ish.
and so Hicks has the son in Scream 5 that
Yeah, he
he
would
must
have
have
been
been
at
born
least like a
like
toddler
5,
or in
yeah,
like
like 4 or 5
preschool
then
or
around now.
something. Yeah.
So she's probably like a single mom, I'm
Yep.
assuming. Okay, yeah. So she's like, "Oh, this guy's nice. I want to."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it, I was like, wait, he's like 15, 16, right? They're like 16, 17 in Scream 5. Hicks has a son. He's probably like 11 years, 10 years. Oh, wait, hold on.
Yep. And father's never revealed. But
That's true. I mean, neither for Meeks, for Randy's sister.
yeah. Yeah. Same. Um, so yeah, they tear off to the Randall house, and we cut to Gail watching an interview of Sydney and suffering from horrible writer's block. She hasn't even begun. Um, and immediately cut from that to the girls arriving at school, where they're greeted by Robbie and Charlie. Robbie with a super uncouth comment to Olivia, and this is where we kind of get the hook of this film. Just kind of like YouTube and vloggers and people putting their life on the internet in general. Um, yeah, I think there was even a comment about how Stab Six was all about the killer stalking everybody through Facebook, and how I guess if they did it now, it would be Twitter. Kristen Bell says something like that.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that line.
So yeah, they get into the school, and it's very clear that Charlie is crushing on Kirby. Kirby just enjoys toying with him, and check the bust of Henry Winkler in this scene.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, you got
I
to give some
love
respect
that.
to the wink. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Um, and then Jill closes her locker, and it's that old trope of somebody standing right behind the door when you close it, and it's her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, whatever they are to each other,
The most
Trevor.
milk toast boy ever in Scream.
Yeah, yeah, he's kind of a menacing presence, but also like I just don't give two shits about this person. He's
He's like
very
there,
much
but not there.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
very much there to be a red herring, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Um,
nothing else.
yeah, and maybe a little bit of motive for certain people later on, but
Yeah, but that's
eh,
yeah.
yeah. Um, so yes, Trevor, yeah, he cheated on Jill or broke up with her after they had sex or something like that, and he feels really bad about it. Yeah, I could not give two shits about this guy.
Nah.
Um, and then Robbie comes along doing his "What's your favorite scary movie?" shtick, and Trevor basically just growls at him and scares him off. It kind of
Yeah,
tells
it's
you
so random.
everything you need to know about this character. Um, yeah, this is where Gail shows up then late to Sydney's reading slash signing at the bookstore. They hug, and suddenly Dewey's there too, and it's like, okay, and all the police force is right behind him because Hicks has tracked a missing cell phone from the crime scene to this location. Um, Gale and Hicks, they are not friendly. Uh,
Nah. Not at all.
and no. And Dewey's like, everybody shut up. He calls the cell phone. They hear the ringing. They head outside. It's the trunk of Sydney's rental. They pop it open. There's bloody cell phone, scream costume, or stab costume rather. It's
Yeah.
also confusing with the meta, and just blood everywhere. Awesome.
So much ruined like free copies of that book.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. There are a lot of copies of that book in that bookstore.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
really don't think that many people in Woodsboro want to be reminded of all this.
Yeah, yeah. You
Um,
don't want to be read about shit that happened when I was
yeah.
a teenager too.
Although, was it more of a memoir or more of like a self-help book? They were really unclear about that.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I kind of I bet you use like both.
yeah.
You know, because I feel like she already knows like her story's been told like a million times, right? Like you see Stab, Gail wrote about it. Like she's probably like, all right, well, listen, I'm not a victim. Let me tell you how I got out of it.
Right, right. She had her Diane Sawyer interview with Cotton way back
Yeah,
when.
finally, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, back at the high school, everyone's cell phone starts going nuts because Jenny and Marnie were just discovered. And they hear some vehicles racing by on the road, and it's news vans. And this is where we get one of the first shots of basically every major newscaster from the Detroit market in this film. They will pop up again and again. Uh, Gail is then frozen out of the investigation by Deputy Hicks, who feeds into Dewey's desire to be a by the book sheriff. Um, Also, they don't like each other. But yeah, one
Your lemon squares taste like ass.
yeah, yeah,
They don't.
yeah. They really don't. But
I love that line.
yeah, when he's so fucking protective. When
Of everyone. Like he's
oh
just like
yeah,
such a mother
yeah,
hen of everyone. Like, don't fight. Everyone don't fight. Please, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yes. Uh, when she does finally get to talk to Dewey, she wants to help solve this thing, but he can't let her be involved because he's part of the official investigation, which there's better ways to handle that with your wife, but
Yeah.
also I understand where he's coming from, but wow, she takes that poorly. And that's where we get the your lemon squares taste like ass line as she storms off. Um, and then Officer Perkins comes in. I love that the character's name is Anthony Perkins. That's fucking
Love
perfect.
it.
And
It's so great.
he takes Dewey to the interview room where Jill, Olivia, and Kirby are there to talk about their phone calls from that morning. Um, and for some reason, Sid steps into the room as well. I know that
Yeah,
she
they just let
probably,
her in too. Like
yeah, it's like, Gail, you can't have anything to do with this, but Sid, because you
yeah,
were,
it's fine.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I also
um,
love Kirby in this scene where she's just like, well,
yeah,
I didn't get a phone call. Like, am I next? Like, am I gonna die next? Like, I don't want to die.
uh
Why
huh.
did I get a phone call?
Oh, I'm their friend, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this is where they basically have to tell Sid that she shouldn't leave town as well. That's great because she wants to get the fuck out of there, and I
Hell
don't
yeah, I don't blame
blame
her.
her, not at
Yeah, I'm
all.
not the victim anymore, but as well, I'm not gonna be caught up in this shit again.
Yeah, I'm not about to become a victim either.
Hmm.
Yep. Um, and then we're back outside the station. That's where Sid's publicist is excited about what the murders could do for book sales. And she runs into Gail and has to fangirl out and then say some shit that she's going to regret 3 seconds later. And yeah, Gail basically tells her off and tells her that she's gonna rearrange her face if she's not careful, and then steps away saying, like, yeah, still got it. I
I
love it.
love it.
Gail
I
is
love her.
just such a hell beast of a woman, and it's just
Mhm.
perfect.
I love her so much.
Yes, she's one of my absolute favorite characters in these movies. Um, yeah. So she steps off, and we cut to that evening at the Roberts house, Jill's house, where Sid is crashing. Jill's mom is Cindy's aunt. It's Maureen's sister. And she's played by the phenomenal Mary McDonnell, who I always look back super fondly on for Battlestar Galactica.
Hell yeah, man. She was great
Oh,
in that.
yeah. And Donnie Darko. She was pretty good in that
Oh
too.
yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't get too many lines in this, and she's kind of a space cadet in a couple of scenes too. But I
Yeah.
still love her presence in this film. This is one of those things, like you were mentioning, where things are clearly cut from this story, or there were rewrites or something. That was part of the drama on this set. Kevin Williamson was not happy with Aaron Kruger
Mhm.
coming back to do some touch ups, and there were like new pages on different days, and Hayden Panettiere almost quit the film because she was just so irritated with all the little changes here and there. So that's
God, I
probably
know it's
why.
insane.
Yeah,
I know
probably.
Mary didn't make it to the premiere because most of her stuff ended up on the cutting room floor.
Oh,
Yeah, I heard that earlier today, and I was like, "Damn, that sucks." And then like she has this interesting line um when Kirby is talking about Sydney because she's like in her presence again. She's like, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful!" Like, but she must have all these scars, and like talking about her physical scars. And
mhm.
Mary has this line where she's like, "I also have scars," and it's like you could tell she's talking about her relationship.
Emotional scars.
Yeah,
Her
with her
whole thing with her
sister.
sister. Yeah.
Yeah, like all this and I mean, who knows, like, after Scream 3, if everyone knows what happened, right? Like, if everyone knows that, Maureen Prescott unfortunately got Harvey Weinstein, which is weird as shit to think about when you see who produced this movie and 3.
Yep.
If she got Harvey Weinstein, like, does the whole world know about that? Does the whole world know about, like, Roman, this long lost son, setting up Billy and Stu to, like, kill her and, like, set it up so, like, Cotton looked like he was a murderer? Like, if they don't, that's cool. That's whatever. And I get Mary would have her own scars of like Maureen just going off and randomly leaving her, and like that's still interesting on its own. But if she knows all this stuff, like Jesus Christ, like
It's a
give her some more
lot.
lines. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 There's as much as I
like her
love
niece
this
almost
film,
died
there's
like
so
how
much
many
missing.
times because of her sister.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 This family's seen some shit.
Yeah.
So yes. Kirby, yeah, like we were just talking about, she's curious about Sid and Jill's mom. Um, and or no, rather that the mother, I think she's a little jealous in some ways of Sid's notoriety.
Hmm.
Just the way that she makes that comment about how she has scars. But we just cut away from all this back to the living room where Dewey's talking with Sid. She asks him about him and Gail, and he's kind of worried about what 10 years of being married to a small town man has done to her and their relationship. But then he quotes an uplifting passage from Sid's book. He's trying to put a positive spin on things. It's kind of his MO. And you kind of feel for him too. And of course, behind the scenes, this is where he and David Arquette and Courtney Cox were separating around the time of filming this film. And then about a year after its release, they were finally divorced. Now, everybody says they were completely friendly and professional on the set, but
Which
you
is
know,
it's crazy. Yeah, see, it comes off that way in the movie. Like it doesn't seem
yeah,
like there's any weird separation thing. Even, I mean, not really future spoilers, but when they interact in 5. Like
yeah.
it
Well,
still doesn't. It seems copacetic. Like
yeah,
it's
they
great.
still own a production company together. They
Yeah,
they
it's crazy.
still work together. So, clearly they've been able to maintain as friends. It's just,
It's
when
awesome
you're
to see. Yeah.
yeah, when you're going through that shit though, it's like having to work with that person or having to be around them is just it's not easy. So,
Oh, I bet.
yeah,
I mean, I have no clue. There's other couples you can see in movies, and you're like, this is weird.
yeah, exactly. Um yeah. But it's sad. He
Hmm.
quotes that uplifting passage, and then we cut to Jill coming out of the bathroom, and she's surprised by Trevor being in her bedroom. He just wants to talk. He's concerned about her being around Sid now that the killings have started up again. But Jill just doesn't trust him after what he did. Um, basically dumping her after sleeping with her and then going off and sleeping with, I think, one of the girls from the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be Jenny. Um, let's see. Yeah, she tells him to get out of there. And Sid does the mom thing of knocking, but just bursting right in, just like her
Mhm.
dad did in the original
Yep.
film. Um, and she sees them together and she's a little embarrassed. And, she's also struck by the similarity of Jill having a boyfriend sneaking out her window. It's
Mhm.
all coming flooding back for her. And she says goodnight to Jill, steps back out into the hall. And this is where we get this super creepy exchange between Hicks and Sid. And it's also that scene I was mentioning earlier where you can't see shit.
Yeah, I didn't even know she's in there. Like I've seen this movie like 3 times, 4 times now as
Mhm.
of today, and like she comes up, I'm like, God damn, what the hell? Like,
But
why
yeah,
is she
yeah.
hanging out in the dark?
Oh yeah, it's creepy. And
I'm
you
the
do hear,
cinematographer. Why can't I see her?
yeah, that's a problem. That's a major problem. I get the, drama of her stepping into the light and then you can see her a little bit more. Yeah, that all makes sense. But it helps to be able to see her in the darkness just a little bit.
Yeah.
We find out that Judy Hicks was the same age as Sydney. They went to high school together. They were both in Peter Pan together in drama. But she wouldn't blame Sydney if she, didn't remember her because Sydney was going through a lot of shit in high school. Um, yep. Yep. Understood. Sydney is very kind to her though. Not trying to pretend to remember her necessarily, but just she's nice about it. Um, and yeah, she pieces out then, and Sydney buggers off to her room. And I mean, again, also great red herrings in these movies.
Yeah.
Judy is creepy as fuck.
She is the whole
And
time too, pretty much. Like
oh, yeah.
she's so creepy.
And just the way she steps out of the shadows into that hall light.
It doesn't help that
You,
she has like these piercing blue eyes. So
yeah.
like when she's like in the light, she looks like what did they equate it to? The thing I watched earlier it was she had this Pennywise eyes.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, um, God, yeah, I should look that up because that would be a fun watch. But yeah, you wouldn't be. I wouldn't hate you for thinking that she was potentially the killer. Um, and then we cut to Perkins and Haas outside in their cruiser as Olivia comes
Love it.
home. I know they're so dumb. Um, and Olivia calls Curbs. I think the idea was that Kirby was sleeping over at Jill's or something like that.
Mhm.
And then she makes a crack about the doofus officers in their cruiser out front. She's not going to come up there because Sid's there. Everybody sees Sid as some kind of like, bad omen or
Yeah.
just somebody not good to be around because everybody dies around her. They keep calling her the angel of death. That's
Yeah,
super nice.
I was thinking about that more as I watched the movie again today, and I was like, because I watching the movies and loving this franchise and stuff, I became super protective. I'm like, hey man, fuck you! Like don't be calling her the angel of death. Like she didn't do anything,
Mhm.
but like these kids are like 16, 17, and they weren't born or they were just born as the Woodsboro stuff is going on. Of course, like they don't. All they know is like anytime this woman's around, like death follows
Yeah.
her. So like that weird like mystique and like
Well, that and they just know the fucking
yeah,
stab movies.
exactly,
That
yeah, right. Like
that's
they
probably
didn't live it.
informed them more on Sydney's life than any small town gossip.
Yeah, almost
Um,
like she's the problem instead of like everything.
right.
Shit just happens to her.
Yeah. So Jill decides to fuck with Olivia using an awful ghost face impression. And while she's doing this, um, Trevor calls, but it's not Trevor. So both girls are on their phones. Stabathon is brought up for the first time in this film somewhere around here, how that's a thing. Um, so when Kirby pushes the caller to ask his famous question, he instead asks, "How's the movie?" And she's like, "What movie?" And he's like, "Shaun of the Dead." "How do you know we're watching Shaun of the Dead?" "Because I'm standing in the closet and I can see what you're watching, motherfucker." It's great.
Great
It's
line.
so, yeah.
So creepy.
Yep. And yeah, speaking of creepy, We got the neighbor girl across the street, getting changed throughout all of this. I mean, that was very intentional, I'm sure. But so yeah, they're like gonna call Ghostface's bluff. Kirby throws open the closet doors, only to reveal that he's not in Jill's closet. No, no, he's across the street in Olivia's
Mhm.
closet. And he promptly pops out and stabs her, throws her around the room, and eventually throws her through the window. But not throwing her out. Oh no. Oh no, it's much worse than
God.
that. Um, this is gory as fuck for a Scream film.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
but yeah, Sid runs across the street. She was standing there with Jill and Kirby watching all this happen through their window. Um, and she runs over there, but she's too late. The phone rings. Sydney picks it up in this bloody, gore-filled room that looks like a fucking slaughterhouse. And we get "Welcome Home, Sydney," a preview of coming events. And that's where Jill comes running in, and Sydney's like, "Don't go in there." And yeah, it's kind of
It's
her.
super gory. Yeah,
Oh, there's
it's
intestines
surprising.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. This is where Ghostface attacks, and he slices Jill's arm. And Sid and Ghostface kind of fight their way down the stairs. Um, Cops show up way too late. And when Sid turns around again, Ghostface is gone. And Jill does not want to talk at this moment. She gives her a good solid don't. And then Trevor comes barreling into the crime scene. Again, great red herring. Little
Mhm.
else. But he goes and tends to Jill. And this is where the awful fucking neighbors start throwing disparaging comments at
Yeah.
Sydney. Like, what the fuck, y'all?
You guys were there. Like you knew
Just
what
like your
happened.
mother. What the
That was
hell?
unnecessary. That was the one that was unnecessary. It's like
Yes. Yeah.
talk shit
Mom's.
about Sid in a way, but hey, leave
Yeah.
Marine out of the
Yeah.
equation. They're
Yeah.
not the same, okay?
Marine did not kill anybody. I am so sorry, but
No,
no.
she had an affair. Jesus God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes. And Jill at this moment apologizes for what she said to Sydney, and they hop into an ambulance to go get checked out at the hospital.
Then he just
Uh,
takes it in stride too. She's like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like she's like almost used to it.
yeah, I think she kind of is. Yeah, she's been through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Um, and Haas and Perkins are apologizing to Dewey for letting Ghostface give them the slip because they were chasing a suspect around the house, and that's why they weren't in their cruiser at the time. Um, he, tells him to get out of there, and Gail, outside of the hospital, runs into Robbie and Charlie. And they're doing their hall pass shtick, and when she finds out that he's live streaming, even then as she's talking to them, she first nicely asks if he can turn it off so that they can have a little old fashioned off the record. When he refuses, she gives him a "turn that fucking thing off" that's so goddamn hard.
I
uh
love it.
yep. Yep, I love Gail. She's the best, and oh god, I hope she makes it through this new one.
I
um
know. Ooh, so scary.
I know. So she asks for their help, and in return, she'll swing by the Woodsboro High Cinema Club. When that's not enough, Charlie asks for her to bring Sydney with her. Um, that's got to sting a little bit
Yeah.
for Gail,
Low blow.
just a little. Yeah. Um, so Sid's getting cleared by the doctor, and in the credits, the doctor's listed with the same last name as Steve, the very first kill of the first film. Um,
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any relation there, but that's a fun little Easter egg. But yeah, she gets cleared by the doc, and she's ambushed by her publicist out there in the hallway, telling her that Random House, they want to lock her into a new book deal, and she can basically name her price. But she's really gross about it all. And Sydney basically fucking fires her.
Mhm.
Um, Good for Sydney. I appreciate that she has some kind of self-respect.
Yep. After even after all these years. Yeah.
Yeah. So the publicist heads to her car in the parking garage, muttering to herself the whole fucking way, talking about how Sydney's going to call me in the morning. This is too good to leave on the table. So she gets a call from Ghostface as she's walking to her car, and she eventually hangs up on him. And as she hops into, she's like accidentally setting off the alarm and all this shit, and she's not having a good time of it. She's kind of like fumbling with her keys in the car, and the phone rings and she drops it, and she lets out this funny little no during that. It's so good. It's very subtle, but it's really good. And she tries to start up the car, and that's not happening. And next thing you know, Ghostface is on the hood, and she's screaming for her life. There's another car that's screeching through a parking garage. It's that old thing of, how cars, as they drive around in a parking garage, how whatever the coating is on the pavement in those things, it always screeches like crazy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But she's screaming for help. And then when the car clearly can't hear her, she, turns around and Ghostface is gone. Yeah, that's where she stupidly gets out of the car and starts looking around. Maybe just try again to see if the car will start.
Yeah. You have your cell phone. Just call 911.
Exactly. It's not like you can't get to 911 and your doors were already locked. Just try. But no, she gets out, she starts poking around, and as she steps away from her car, its alarm goes off again, and she just books it for the doorway for the stairwell. And for some reason, she breaks the handle off in her hand.
I don't know, like, how crazy strong is she?
Yeah, or I don't even necessarily buy the Ghostface had that all rigged so that it would be locked and it would break apart. That's
like a happy accident.
Yeah, I think so, because she turns around and that's Ghostface rushing her with a knife in the gut. And down below, Dewey is holding a press conference right in front of the hospital. And he's doing his ever-loving best here to be a professional, to tell people they got to chill. They've got this. Just got to give them some time. Gail shows up at the front of the press, reliving her glory days there. And when he calls her name, kind of with a bit of a question, she reacts like she's being called on to ask a question. And he shuts her down with this little later.
Not right now.
Yeah. So she's pissed about that. And then we hear a woman scream, and everybody looks up as the publicist's body is flung off the parking structure and onto a news van below. And it's chaos. Everybody's rushing around. Dewey's sending officers up to the top of the garage. Everybody's looking for Ghostface. He climbs up. It's interesting how many times he checks for people's pulses in this film, but he does a lot. He climbs up to the top of the van. Yeah, she's clearly dead. This is where Gail tells him, hey, maybe you want to work with me because I've got a lead that you don't. And then she bugs out. She really rubs his face in it too. And then we cut to the next day, and school is still open somehow.
Well, it's Woodsboro, right? So they're probably like, listen, it happened once.
They shut it down super fast in the original film,
true.
though. I don't know. I guess they're a little bit more jaded.
Honestly, you know what? If you think about it, we're kids from the 80s and 90s, right? So, like, they would have kept school open. Like, hey, your best friend got murdered right in front of you. You got to come to school. So, it would be different now, right? It would be 2011 now. They'd be like, no, we're closing at the slight of someone got a stapler in their finger by accident in Woodsboro. Like, we got to close it down. We don't know.
Yeah, these kids are soft.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But yeah, it's a little unbelievable that the school is still open at this point. Where are we here? Yeah, so we're just like right after school, I guess, because it's the cinema club. And somehow that very next day, Gail got Sydney to come with her to cinema club. Sure. Charlie thinks the killer should be filming everything if he wants to break out of the mold. He also makes the point that the only way to survive a modern horror film is to be gay.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
I
how
don't
I
remember
feel
any
about
movie
that
doing
line.
that back in the day.
Nope, really don't. Sid realizes that things will culminate in a party, Stabathon. The kids don't want to give the Stabathon location to Gail. She's pissed, so she basically storms out. Um, Later, Sid and Jill have a moment back at the Roberts house. Jill kind of wonders aloud about being Sydney. Um, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where Jill heads up to her room because she's basically on lockdown at this point and calls Kirby, who's at Stabathon. Kirby's walking around with all these dorks and she flips off Trevor because she's pissed at him for Jill. And yeah. Love all the kids cosplaying as
Yeah.
characters from Stab throughout all of this. I missed it, but apparently there's like a garage door with Tatum's corpse hanging out of it somewhere in this setup.
Yeah. So like if you see that Dewey and that Gale walking around, like
Mm-hmm.
when they do that pan scene, it's like right in the back.
Okay.
Right in the back. And then there's someone like later or earlier, there's like someone as Casey Becker. So she has her guts hanging out, like she's hung up. All fucked up
Gotcha.
too.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, it's not like all right. So like we make
Yeah,
fun of the Titanic now, right?
right.
And a lot of people died, and that's fucked up. But we make fun of it
Yeah.
like a
Mostly we
good
make
like
fun of the movie.
80, 100.
Um,
Yeah, fair. Like
But yeah, it's
this is
not
like
like they're just
50 years ago.
celebrating the movies. No, they're celebrating shit that happened in their town like 15 years ago.
Yeah, if this was like
Uh,
Montana and they were having a stabathon, like that shit makes sense. But this is the actual city that this shit went down in, and they're
yeah,
like, yeah, fuck it. The sheriff's sister is right there. You can see her body.
right, right. It's more than a little fucked up. Yes.
Mhm.
Um, Okay, so yeah, the dorks. Well, first, Gail. She's planting webcams all over this place, and she's in a scream mask to conceal her identity because she figures if they know that she's there, they may just call things off or whatever.
I love the random
'Cause-
thumbs up. It's like, yeah.
yeah. I like her get up with the leather jacket and the scream mask. It's good. So yeah, Charlie and Robbie, they start things off. Just kind of given the rules of the drinking game for Stab, and they fire off the first film. And Gail hops into her car to observe her feeds, but she finds them winking out one by one. And in the final one, she even sees Ghostface looking into the camera. She calls Dewey to let her know where she's at and the Ghostface is there, and he tears off after her. When he gets there, he finds her car and he observes her feeds as she's walking around, kind of working to fix them. As she grabs one, she notices something off in the background, and it's another webcam, but it's not one of hers. And this is where Dewey can see Ghostface coming up behind her because she's holding her own camera, facing behind her. And she manages to duck out of his attack, and they chase each other around the hay bales as Dewey charges into the party. Ghostface ends up stabbing Gale in the shoulder, and Dewey fires off a few rounds. He's still an awful shot.
God, yeah, he's so bad at it.
Yeah, it's not good. And Ghostface runs away. Gail tells him about the webcam she found in the hayloft. This time he's making the movie, she says before passing out or whatever. And then we're back to the Roberts house, and Perkins and Haas just kind of lamenting their situation. Sid's making some tea, and she hears the wind chimes going nuts outside, so she steps out on the back porch to check it out. Haas goes off on his perimeter check, and he sees an open window and tries to check in with Perkins, but he doesn't hear anything. He heads back to the par, and Perkins is just pulling a fast one on him, and it kind of scares him. He was just pretending to be dead. That only lasts for so long because Haas gets stabbed into the back, and as soon as he falls away, the knife comes again into his forehead.
My favorite kill.
I
My favorite
love
kill.
it. So earlier in the film, they're talking about how cops don't do so well in movies like these, unless you're Bruce Willis. And, kind of the rules for cops in the movies, how if you're about to retire or if you have a
Yep.
baby on the way or if your partner's significantly more good looking than you, you're going to die. So as Perkins is dying, with his dying breath, he says, "Fuck you, Bruce Willis," and collapses.
Love it.
It's so
Love it. That's also
good.
the second time as a cop Anthony Anderson dies.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think he in Cop Out or was it Adrian Brody? I can't
Adrian
remember.
Brody's in Cop Out. Anthony
Okay.
Anderson's in The Departed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I love
Yes.
that too. And like delirium. It was so funny because at the time I was like, that is so crazy. There's no way that can happen. And then I read a whole thing that like Wes Craven watched a documentary where that happened to someone. Like they
Yeah.
got stabbed and they lived for like quite a bit after.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
People can survive with all sorts of weird head injuries. It's yeah. It, shockingly, yeah, it's one of those weird but true things. But
That's
yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love him going out with "fuck you, Bruce Willis," though. It's
So
awesome.
great.
So meanwhile, Sid doesn't hear any of this. I think maybe she had already stepped back inside. There's a lot of things that happen in these films where I feel like people were well within earshot and they should have been able to hear things going on.
Mhm.
We're just gonna say that she took the wind chimes down and she was back in the house. And then she hears the wind chimes again. So she's like, what the fuck? And she goes to step outside and no, it's just her Aunt Kate. She's like, the wind chimes were down. I'm putting them back up again. So apparently she got back from the grocery store. Yeah, she is. I found it weird. She had the groceries in paper bags with plastic bags around them. I feel like you usually get one or the other, but you
Not
don't.
both. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Whatever, just nitpicking. The phone rings as Sid is unpacking the groceries because mom had left to go get that last bag. Again, really cool possible red herring here.
Yeah.
It could be Aunt Kate as the killer. But yeah, it's Ghostface, of course. Anytime the phone rings in these movies, it's fucking Ghostface. And he asks her, basically, at what point of being what's the point of being a survivor if everyone around you is dead? So Sid hangs up on his ass and runs upstairs to find that Jill is gone. And there's a chat window open on her computer that tells us that she was talking with Kirby about going over to her place. So she comes back downstairs to find her aunt, and they decide to go after her themselves because she didn't see the cops outside, and she can't get a hold of her daughter because it's just going to voicemail. And this is where Ghostface attacks. And they see the reflection of the mask in the wind chimes, which was
It's so corny, and I love it.
Kind of corny, yeah.
Yeah.
But so they slam that door shut and they run for the front door, but Ghostface is out there, and she tells her aunt to brace the door, and of course the aunt does this with her back to the mail slot, where she ends up getting a knife in the back, and yeah, that's unfortunate.
That's a great reveal too, because she's like, "Come on, let's go," and she's like,
"Yeah, not moving, really." Like, yeah.
Like, wait, what's wrong?
We get a little "tell Jill I'm so sorry" before she dies, and as Sid runs out the back, she runs into Hicks, who was trying to look around for Perkins and Haas but couldn't find them. Sid lets her know what happened. She runs inside, checks Kate's vitals, goes to call it in. She turns around, Sid's gone. She grabbed Kate's caddy and she's tearing off after Jill. Dewey and Gail are at the hospital, and Gail basically gives him just a quick catch that motherfucker. And so he tears off all charged up and ready to go. And then we're at the after/anti party at Kirby's. And they're looking at her film collection. This girl likes her giallos. and I appreciate
Yeah,
that. Suspiria and
classics, man.
Don't Look Now. Yeah. Yeah. I wish that Criterion of Don't Look Now wasn't out of print.
Ugh,
Because I would buy
yeah.
that in a heartbeat. Yeah, there's some gross reasons why some people like that film, but it's a good ass shallow.
Yeah,
So
it is.
yeah. Um, so yes, they want to watch Stab because they don't want to be denied their Stabathon. Meanwhile, Robbie is kind of freaking out because of them filming so much stuff and it being revealed that some stuff was related to webcams and how they're probably going to get blamed for some shit. At the very least, they're going to get their stuff shut down. So he's drinking like crazy. Um, Trevor shows up saying he got a text from Jill inviting him there. Kirby is extra mad. Jill goes to find her phone to prove that she didn't text him, and Trevor storms off after her. We get Hicks calling Dewey to fill him in on Sid fleeing the scene of Kate's murder and how they found Haas and Perkins in their car a couple of blocks away, dead. Then back to Kirby's house where Robbie's getting drunk. He's stumbling around and he decides to step outside and kind of giving Charlie and Kirby a little bit of alone time there. And he notices and he starts his live stream, talking to the audience of probably like two people that,
Yeah, at this point, yeah, right.
yeah.
Or he's going home at that point.
Yep. And telling them that Charlie's probably going to get lucky. And then he knocks his headset off of his head on a hanging basket. This is where the camera on the headset gets conveniently turned around backwards. Kirby makes a pass at Charlie in the meantime, and Trevor ruins the moment. Because he can't find. Yeah, I know. You feel for them. And he's still looking around for Jill. He can't find her, and we get this great "get out of my house" from Kirby.
It's like I didn't want you here in the first place. Why the fuck are you here?
She's just like pounding vodka too. But yes, she tells him to get out of there. And then we're back to Robbie. He's kind of walking around the house, muttering into his live stream, and he finally realizes, checking the stream, that the camera's on backwards. He straightens it all out, goes to check the stream again, and opens the door at the same time, and it's the perfect shot of him with his phone up to check the stream, seeing the image from his camera of Ghostface standing there and him dropping his phone with Ghostface right there, because
so good.
It's all the lovely meta layers of this film. But yes, it's Ghostface, and Robbie gets stabbed like crazy, and he's on the ground kind of pleading for his life. And there's rules. I'm gay if it helps.
I love Ghostface's face. Like, what the fuck?
And this is where this kid absolutely deserves to die. Yep. So Ghostface delivers a finishing blow there, and not sure where everyone is. Kirby goes to investigate, and she finds Jill coming down the stairs. They're like, "What is everyone?" And she's like, "Where's Trevor?" Well, he went up there to look for you. He's not up there. What do you mean he's not up there?
Where the fuck did he go?
Yeah, and this is where they open up the door, and Sydney's right there. They all turn around, and there's Robbie with his final breath collapsing on the front porch. She's saying, "Run," and Ghostface is right behind them. Sid and Jill run up the stairs. Kirby goes the other way. Sid gets this great kick in on Ghostface and, throwing him down the stairs as they go up. And they barricade themselves inside Kirby's room. Let's see here. Jill gives up her phone to Sid. Sid tells her to get under the bed. When Ghostface finally breaks through, she's out on the balcony yelling down to the ground, telling Jill to get away and get help. Nice fake out, maybe. And this is where Ghostface kind of slowly stalks her along the roofline. Not super fast. They're being careful. Maybe it's a little slippery. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
But yeah, she tries calling Dewey while she's looking for another way in. Meanwhile, Ghostface is circled around and he pops out and attacks her. And she's hanging on the gutters and eventually drops down to the ground. Yeah. Let's see here. She gets up, luckily not injured.
Yeah, thank God.
And yeah, because they talk about how they're a couple of stories up. It really wasn't all that bad, was it? So yes, she runs off, comes around to the front door again, and finds Kirby. Uh, Kirby talks about how the landline's dead and the router's smashed. So they go and hide in the basement. The basement has a walkout into the backyard, and there's Charlie banging on the glass door with his bloody hands. And he says it's Robbie's. He just found him. And Sid's like, if you don't trust him, don't let him in. And so Kirby makes the hard choice of keeping him outside. Ghostface pops up behind and attacks, smacking his head into the door and dropping him. Yeah. And meanwhile, Dewey's driving like a bat out of hell through downtown Northville. And then we come back to the house and the lights flip on outside, and there's Charlie duct taped to a chair a la Scream 96. Fun little homages throughout this
Yeah.
film. It's good. Ghostface calls and he wants to play horror trivia with Kirby. He's nowhere to be seen. All we can see is Charlie strapped to the chair. Sid tells him to basically, keep him busy while she goes to try to find Jill. Ghostface asks some questions about different killers' weapons in different movies, and then finally starts asking a question about horror remakes. And this is where Kirby launches into that rant of like horror remakes
Jesus.
from the past, 10 years. That's just perfection.
Yeah, it's like 15 movies, and she does it not as even like anger or anything. She's like emoting like pure
Mhm.
sadness and like mania, and
It's
she's killing the
exquisite.
scene. Like it's such a great scene. Oh
Yep.
God,
The
Hayden Panettiere kills it, man.
Oh yeah. The voice goes silent and Kirby thinks, okay, I've won. I've won. Especially she sees this reaction on Charlie's face, like, what's going on or whatever, or maybe he's in the clear or something. So she steps outside. Um, and let's see here. Uh, yeah, she goes outside to free Charlie. And when he gets free, he says, Kirby, this is making a move. And he stabs her in the gut. Basically bitching about how, he liked her for 4 years and this is how it ends up. Just a fucking little weirdo.
God, what a little bitch, man. I remember
Yeah.
watching that and I jumped. I was like, no, not Kirby.
Yep. Yep. So he stabs her again and drops her to the ground, but we never see her die. And yes,
Yeah, thank God.
that'll come back. So yes, then we cut right to inside where Charlie pops up behind Sydney and gets a knife around her throat. She manages to break free, however, and she tries to flee, but Ghostface steps out from around the corner and stabs her in the gut. And as Sid looks on in shock, Ghostface pulls off the mask to reveal Jill. Yeah.
I was shocked. I honestly was. I
Yeah.
was like,
First time
oh
I saw it,
shit.
absolutely. Yes. Because these are such tiny, spindly people that are doing all this killing.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
sure.
Something about that suit, man, gives you like super strength, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, yes, it's Jill. And it is revealed that they've been filming all their kills and they plan on framing Trevor, who is conveniently duct taped in the closet, just like Sid's dad was in the first film. And, she's griping that, her boyfriend fucked her and didn't even make her famous. And this is where she shoots Trevor in the crotch. And then
Oh my God.
oh yeah. And then as he's begging for his life, she just shoots him in the forehead. Okay.
Yeah.
That's that. And she's just kind of spilling the beans on the whole plan here. She tells Sid her plan of gaining fame from being the new survivor. And Charlie's her accomplice in all this, and he makes it sound like he's getting the girl and everything, and he's pumping himself up for Jill to stab him in the shoulder, just so they can both get some wounds, just like Billy and Stu were planning on doing way back
I love he
when.
does though mention Randy. I don't know if it was like a town secret or anything, but he's like this time Randy gets the girl.
Right,
Yeah, like
right.
because we already know that Randy had this unquieted love for like
Hmm.
Sydney.
Yep, yep. But instead of stabbing him in the shoulder, she gives him a good jab in the heart and tells him that she's going to be a soul survivor. And this is where the real plan is revealed, that she's going to frame him as Trevor's accomplice. Um, and as Sydney's, like, why all your friends? And she's like, I don't need friends. I need fans. And that awesome line of sick is the new sane. Um,
Man,
she's just going on this rant that's just an awful commentary on 2010's fame. um and yeah, Jill stabs her in the gut again, and after she drops to the ground, we get a really long scene of Jill basically staging the scene for the cops. She's getting rid of all the duct tape and planting weapons here and there. She's using Trevor's hands to tear at her face and rip out her hair, and she stabs herself in the shoulder by propping it up against the wall and running herself into it. Ooh, that does not feel good. She has to kick a trash can from the pain. That's how you know it hurts. Um, but yeah, she's doing all this prep work, even going so far as to throw herself through a glass coffee table.
that
Um,
that whole scene is utterly insane, and like the whole motive behind her wanting to get this fame and everything was like really cool twist and really good commentary for like the time and even now.
mhm.
But then her following through so thoroughly to be like, no, I got scratched in the face. They pulled my hair. I got run through this glass. Oh, I got stabbed. And like to run through the gauntlet of doing it to herself. Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, she's
She's
committed.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how you get away with like all the duct tape and just, I don't know. I feel like there's all sorts of physical evidence that's
Yeah.
just not going to line up the way she wants it to line up, but I don't know. But yeah, she finally, as you hear sirens approaching, she settles down on the floor next to Sydney, waiting for her rescue. Um, yeah, yeah, that's pretty awful. And then we cut to her getting her moment as she's wheeled into the hospital with the press just all over her
And
gurney.
no cops to stop her. Well, I guess they're running ragged tonight.
Yeah, there's only about two left. But yeah, she's getting wheeled in while the press corps just, yeah, she's as happy as she possibly could be, but she still has to play her role. There was that comment about how she told so many lies that day, she started believing some of them. Um, she's gotta make this work. Um, and yes, Dewey's in her room with her. Um, as she's fake crying about the situation. Um, she's telling him about how she'd love to work with Gail. What with their matching wounds and all, she thinks it would be perfect. Um, and this is where Dewey drops the bomb that Sid might just make it. It's touch and go. She just got out of surgery, but Jill suddenly is very concerned, and she wants to, go and check on her. And he's like, she's not even awake yet. You just need to rest up. Um, and as soon as he leaves the room, her eyes snap open and she's sitting up and pulling everything off of her because she's got to finish this thing. We got one last witness to take care of. Um, and Dewey goes to see Gail and they talk. And, he brings up the shoulder wound comment that Jill had made. And Gail wonders how she would have known about that. Dewey finally puts two and two together and he goes running out of there. Um, and we get to Sid kind of waking up and Jill just like immediately hopping on top of her
Whooping
and
that
trying to
ass. Yeah.
strangle her. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ooh, this is a violent fight too because
Hell yeah.
yeah, Sid starts jabbing her with her thumb in her eye and they roll off the bed and you got Jill like punching her in her stab wounds in her gut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and she even comments, she's like, how the stitches? Like, Jesus God.
yeah. It's pretty brutal. And Jill hears Dewey coming, so she gets up and she goes to hide in the closet. Looks up, finds this bedpan, and Dewey walks into the room, goes to check on Sid, and Jill pops out behind him and smacks him in the head 6 times with this bedpan.
That poor man. Like,
Yes.
this was like might be the most embarrassing. Like,
Yeah.
way he gets his ass beat out of all 4 movies. Like, he
Yep.
basically gets Vince McMahon. He gets Vince McMahon, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, beating the shit out of him in the hospital room.
This is to make up for the lack of people getting hit in the head that was so prevalent in Scream 3.
It's true. Yeah, so
Because
many
that
people got
happens
head injuries.
over and over and over in Scream 3 and not so much in this film. So yeah, 6 strikes from a bedpan. So he goes down, of course. Jill takes his gun and she stands over Sid. Got Gail and Hicks entering the room. Jill's got the upper hand. Hicks kind of, takes him down behind a bed there as they leap and are fired upon there. And she forces Hicks to give up her weapon and gets her to stand up and Jill just shoots her anyways. And then, forces Gail to stand up, otherwise, ostensibly she's going to shoot Dewey, who's dead to the world at this point on the ground. And meanwhile, Sid's making some plans. She's crawling around in the background. Yeah, as quiet as she can through all the broken glass and everything. But you see her charging up the defibrillator. And just before Jill shoots her, Gail has one last thing she'd like to say. And Jill's like, oh, please. Is that it? And Gail's like, nah, clear. Clear? What the fuck? And Sid just pops up behind her. Clear, bitch. Bam.
So fucking good.
Oh yes.
So good.
Oh yeah. So Jill's down. And Sid makes this great line about that, you forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original. Yeah.
I literally, when I watched that scene, it's one of the few times like watching a horror, but there's like I think a few times I jumped up out of my seat in just pure astonishment and joy. Like that line is so fucking good. Yeah. It is so good. It still hits to this day. Like I've watched it, like I said, 4 or 5 times. Like it hits still as hard as this day. The only other experience I've had with that is like Halloween 2018.
Okay.
When the daughter's like playing coy and then, spoilers, but she's like, gotcha. I fucking jumped out of my seat.
Judy Greer. Yeah. There's some great stand-up and cheer moments in that movie too, for sure.
Hell yeah, man.
But we get the awesome line. And as they're checking on Dewey, Jill wakes up and grabs this huge shard of glass and she's coming after the trio, but Sid hears her coming and she just turns around with the gun and shoots her cousin in the chest. And we get Hicks popping up with nice one. And Gail with this awesome Hicks, you're alive.
I love it. I don't know if she's like shocked or angry. Like, damn.
I know. Guy. I think there's a little bit of both there. I
can't get rid of her.
No, you're never getting rid of this one. And Hicks pops open her shirt to reveal a bulletproof vest, and we get the wear the vest, save your chest, and then she passes out. And so Dewey calls everything in, and Sid curls up next to her dying cousin and lets her know that she feels a whole lot better. Meanwhile, outside the hospital, we get the press getting it all wrong, telling their story about this sole survivor, Jill Roberts. And we cut to credits. There we go.
She gets her fame, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Her death.
Yeah. She will live
He-
in infamy.
oh my god! Can you imagine the retractions that week in the news? Like, so yeah, we got it wrong. Like, all of us got it wrong. Not just Channel 10. Every channel got it wrong. Okay, like we jumped the
Mm-hmm.
gun. We thought she was a survivor. This looks bad on us, but like all of us look bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not just whatever channel we're on right now. Like, just every channel looks bad. Newspapers, everyone just looks bad. Apparently, she was a psycho.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit. Scream 4. We don't get any after credits thing. We don't get the title card with Ghostface pops, but we do get the actors' names with their character photos behind them, which are,
Love
pretty
that. Yeah.
iconic to this series. And that's a very old school movie thing too. And I like
Mhm.
that. That's fun. This is the only Scream film not to use Red Right Hand.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did notice that.
I'm a little sad about that. I like me some Nick Cave. Yeah, it's thankfully they bring it back in the next one. I'm sure we'll get it again in Scream 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, the musical choices in this one not quite as memorable as some of the other films, but
The only thing that stuck out to me is I think the second time they go to the high school,
mhm.
um, the score from the first movie plays.
Okay.
And it was just this viewing that I noticed that I was like, oh damn, like it's actually playing again. Like, just kind of give you like oh, it's kind of happening again. Like, oh my god, like a familiar to it. Like, I was like, damn,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty cool. Like, I thought that was interesting. But that's the only like musical note that like popped for me.
Yeah, and I feel like they tried to bring back the Broken Arrow Dewey's theme thing, which that's just such a funny story. But yeah, it's like slightly off, so they don't have to credit the
Exactly.
Hans Zimmer score. Although I'm pretty sure they bring it back in Scream 5.
I think
Um
they did. Yeah.
yeah, but no, the music's good. It's just I feel like the soundtrack itself just maybe not as memorable. And I mean, it all sounds like music from early 2010s, but
Mhm.
just nothing I really remember. Um, but yeah, this movie, like I said earlier, this movie fucks. The characters, that you actually care about in this film, you really fucking care about.
Yeah. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
mean, you have Trevor who, like, again, just milquetoast doesn't know.
yeah.
He's that red herring just to be a red herring, and that's literally it. So he's whatever. But like, Kirby is such a standout. Jill is such a standout, and then her being
Mhm.
revealed as the killer is so insane. And then having Charlie and Robbie, like they add like a good like aspect to it. I do love that Jill played Charlie like a
Yeah.
fiddle, like an absolute fiddle. And she probably, I wouldn't even be surprised if she used that line. Like, you could be the Randy to my Stu, or like to my like Sydney, like,
Mhm.
because like it's again, the exposure to the stab movies. I guess they would know that like he probably had a thing for her,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so like he was probably like, oh my god, I'm such a fan of these movies. Oh my god, I can't get Kirby. Fuck this. Then I'll get with Jill. Like, she understands me. And she's like, no, dude, I'm gonna kill you at the first chance I get. And he dies like so like he dies like a bitch, and it's so perfect. Like, he
Mhm.
whines the whole way he dies, and it's different than like Stu. Like when Stu gets stabbed and he's like, I'm losing a lot of blood here. Everything's getting woozy. Like, it's so
Right.
that's perfect. Like, he seems like a kid, like, who's like, I'm hurt. His shit hurts.
Well, I actually appreciate that in the first four films, it's always a pair of killers where one killer was really planning on setting up the other person to
Yeah.
ultimately die, because it's revealed in Scream 3 that eh, what's his face, Roman, Sydney's half brother, was prompting Billy to get an accomplice. So you've got somebody, if
To
things
blame it
go
on it.
sideways, you can blame it on him. And then you get Billy's mother getting a psychopath from the internet to be her second, but
Hmm.
ultimately planning on doing him into. And then in Scream 3, it ended up on the cutting room floor. And this is something I wish I researched before I recorded the episode with Mark last week. But ultimately, the Angelina character was set up
Yeah.
as the second killer. And it comes through enough that Mark and I started speculating about it. And boy, we were spot on. I had just never read anything about it.
I remember watching it. I was like, that sense it was off with her.
Yeah.
It seems really off. And then just for her to die, just like, okay, yeah, sure. No problem.
Yep.
And just kept going with it. But I was like, and I read that. I was like, oh my God, that would have been so interesting to see her as like the accomplice.
And it all makes sense because she was kind of Weinsteined as well.
True.
By the Milton character. That was her whole thing about, finally getting that role and then not wanting to die with, what does she say? Second rate celebrities like them. Yeah. But yeah, and then, in the next movie, future spoilers and everything, but, I think it's, the two killers ultimately, I don't think they had plans of doing one another in or anything.
No, they seem on par. Yeah, they seem pretty
they
like
really do.
actual partners. Yeah.
But just kind of curious how this has played out over the years.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah. Hey, Roman probably got that from his like years of film study, right, and stuff, right? He's like, oh, there should be another person, like, and coerced Billy to that, be like, yeah, get somebody else.
No, makes sense. Makes sense. I don't know if I have anything much more about this film. Again, I feel bad that I just didn't care for it as much as I do now in that first viewing. I feel like I was just missing something. My head had to have been off or something when I was watching this.
That's how I felt about Scream 3 for the longest time. I had this funny story with Scream 3. I watched Scream 2 when whenever it premiered on Showtime for the first time. So I was like a kid and I was watching it, and I remember like the movie got done. It was like that Saturday premiere or whatever, and I was like, all right. I looked at my parents. I'm like, oh, I'm going to bed, and they were like, all right, cool, good night. And I used the bathroom and lay down in bed, and I was just thinking, like my head was spinning. I'm like, damn, that was a good movie. That was fun. I was like, oh, if they do another one, and I literally out loud in my head, I was like, if they do another one, maybe she has like a brother or something. And I was like, okay. And then whatever reason, like I did not see Scream 3 till 2005.
Okay.
So like I had no spoilers whatsoever for Scream 3. I just happened to miss it like for 5 years after it came out. And I finally sat down and watched 5, and Roman gets revealed as a killer in his intentions, and I jumped out. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And that like soured
knew
me.
it.
Yeah, and I was like, that soured me so bad for the longest time. And then I finally came around, I think before 5 came out, and I was like, let me rewatch them again. And I was like, I found a new appreciation to it, similar to like how you're feeling before. I did not like 3 the first time because I was like, a little kid shouldn't think of what the killer should be, and that should be what is written. Maybe that's Ethan Kruger's problem, but
Yeah, it's to be fair, he's had some hits, he's had some misses.
True.
He did the screenplay for The Ring, the American remake, which is a good ass remake. But he also wrote multiple Transformers films.
That's true.
But then he went ahead and wrote Top Gun Maverick. So, there's, this wild up and down. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully the next one is another good one, but you never know. It's, the kind of thing where these future Scream films, we're running out of people that were originally involved. You got Kevin Williamson. You certainly don't want Weinstein involvement any longer. Even by association. All you really got left, with the death of one major character is just, just really 2 characters you can pull from other than the more modern casts. So I'm very happy to see things going forward with Radio Silence. And we're about 2 weeks away from Scream 6. So
crazy. It's crazy to think about that.
I know. It's boy, they move that one fast. That's the only thing that worries me about it, how quickly that one came together. But everything looks good so far. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping. And and then our girl Kirby's back.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Hey, it does seem like she's an NYPD officer. I did pause there.
Oh, yeah?
there's like a social media thing where like they have a bunch of different characters and they're like cleaning off the knife, like they're doing the similar Ghostface thing. And it's like
Mhm.
it's like every character in the film, and it's like a GIF thing. And I paused it. I was trying to see if I could see who was who, and I paused it on Kirby, and she has a badge on her hip.
Okay.
So I was like, oh shit,
Okay.
that makes sense then why she's in New York.
Yeah, and I know Patrick Dempsey is supposed to play a cop in this one, so maybe they're
Oh hell yeah,
partners.
yeah man, I would love to see him
That could
back.
that could be cool. Um, yeah. Well, we don't have too much longer to go. Carlos, any final thoughts about Scream 4?
No, I think it's a really good movie, a really good meta commentary, similar to the other three previous, and one after. I think it's a bittersweet way for Wes to end his career, his film career. I think it works out really well. I think it's a good swan song. It's funny though. It's like one of the movies that like are it's the lowest grossing Scream movie. It's like I think the lowest rated too for a lot of people. Um, but I think like you and many people, I think they found a new life with it afterwards. That it finally like kind of like synced up, and I think that's a perfect way for his career to like kind of end. Like it's like, hey, a lot of people are not gonna understand this now. It's like almost like the Marty McFly thing. Like, but your kids are gonna get it, like your kids are gonna love this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. One thing I forgot to ask you that I totally forgot to ask Mark last week. What's your ranking?
Ooh, um, so it would have to be one. I'm really high on five. I don't know if that's because like the more recent bias or like it's kind of like, oh my god, it's like West but with radio silence. I think it'd be 1, 5, 2, 4, 3.
Okay, so
Yeah,
4
yeah,
actually ranks relatively low for you. Um,
yeah. And in my head too, it's funny because like it's not even like a negative thing. Like it's just like in my head, I'm like, did I say two? You know what? No, I would put four like above two. I do like two a lot. Um,
I
I
think,
I think Timothy Olyphant should have got more screen time. But I'm just a huge Timothy
yeah,
Olyphant fan, and I do love the red herring of like Jerry O'Connell. But
yeah, that's
yeah, I
good.
think it would be so. Yeah, 1, 5, 4, 2, 3 in that order.
Yeah, I think for me, it's one at the top. Yeah,
Hmm.
I've said it ad nauseum, but I am the original target demo. I was a senior in high school when that movie came out. But yeah, number one for sure as number one. Number four for my second, with five possibly being tied with that, if not being the third, and then three and two. Three's camp levels put it above two for me. Two's got some stuff that I don't think holds up super well looking back with 2023 lens. But that said, in this most recent rewatch, I found a little bit better appreciation for two.
Same.
So
Yeah, that's how I was with three. Yeah, I enjoyed the camp more in three. Like it kind of
yeah.
embraced like this is what Scream is. It is not fully camp, but like there is a humor to it that like I think I didn't realize I was more into the scares as a kid, and now I got older. I'm like, no, there's some jokes in here. It's really funny.
Oh yeah. It's big time fun for sure. Well, Carlos, if you'd like, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am your doctor recommended dose of nerdiness, Carlos Rodriguez, aka your nerd today. You can find me over at youtube.com/nerdaday, where I have a bunch of different things. I have like reacts, I have the Nerd Today podcast video form. The audio form is on anchor.fm/nerdtoday. And then you can find my live streaming, like where I'm doing gameplay or anything like that, over at twitch.tv/nerdtoday. Oh, and then we also
Awesome.
have a podcast coming out soon with someone who was on the podcast previous, Murders Were Martins. We have Frank, me, and then Har from Pip are doing a podcast starting hopefully soon, as long as I get the assets. You see me make jokes online. Chaos Bringers, which is a Final Fantasy book club podcast where we're going to be going
All
through the
right.
games leading up to 16 and talk about them.
Nice.
It's my first announcement of it anywhere, so you get the exclusive.
Thank you for that. Thank you
Absolutely.
for that. Well, we'll be sure to pimp that too when it comes along. That sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. I haven't played nearly enough of those games, but the ones that I played, it's good times.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, this has been Murders with Mertens, a horror film podcast. Thank you for letting us tickle your ear holes. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are so inclined. I'll be back soon enough with another episode, but until next time, stay spoopy, everyone.